What's going on, guys? It's RPG Zeke here coming at you with another video. This time, a deck review. Yeah, we haven't done one of these in a while. So let me explain how these are going to work. I was sitting there for a while thinking about how do I step up production for a deck review video. To be completely honest, there's not like a fun way of doing it, at least not that I've discovered. So it's going to be pretty blasé. We're going to open up bssdb.dev, which is the website we're on, which we use to make our Battle Spirit Saga decks. We get to save them, we get to look at them, we're able to read the cards pretty easily, and they display an image, and it's pretty straightforward. It tells us the quantities and everything. This deck, for context, is not one of my making. It was brewed by main deck master Scrublord, aka Jacob. So I got permission from some of the main deck guys to go ahead and start reviewing some of the things they've been slinging around. The way this is going to work for future context is when a new box set comes out, I'm going to try and keep a deck list going for either proactive people in the community or other content creators, whatever decks that they're sleeving or playing around with the most, but they will not come out as soon as a new box set releases. We're going to let that new box set breathe. We're going to see what people are playing with, and then like a month and a half in, I'll start supplying, might not even be a month, honestly, might do it sooner. But point is, they're not going to come at the same time as the initial start of the unboxing videos, so do not expect deck reviews on a consistent basis. We're going to focus on usually some kind of theme. If, for example, this one, it's a purple-red list, mainly purple, but there is some red sprinkled into it. So now that we kind of understand our approach of how these are going to work, let's get into it. So with Scrublord's deck list, I went up against it and I have never been so upset in my life. That's not true. He's played some other weird things that have really tilted me. But point is that this deck flows really well. We're going to go through ratios, what he's doing, and kind of talk about some things you can sub in, sub out. He has already, for context, made an updated version of this deck list. I'm going to stick with showing this one because I think ease of getting these cards is much simpler than a lot of the other variations he's made, and you'll see that as we get into the sideboard. So his deck list, big, dentist, energy, kind of starting off right off the rip. What's our ratios? We've got 25 spirits, 8 nexuses, 17 magic. If there is anything purple does well, if you are interested in purple, it is good for drawing a bunch, setting up the board state to where even if you lose a spirit, you might be rewarded for it. And even if you lose a spirit, you can usually just put something in there in its place. Presented, it's in the trash, which is our immortal trigger. And then kind of going from here, we're going to start off with the low cost spirits into the high cost, talk about ratios, kind of go from there and just have fun with the video until I get more structured with it. So leading off the pack, Belle de Gore. I'm going to explain these cards in a semi-intermediate situation. Here's why. I get a lot of feedback that people want decks to sleeve up, which I know a lot of you are going, but who plays the game? I don't want to hear it. I get feedback of people enjoy playing the one deck that came out in a video like 6-7 months ago, guys. People want more deck review videos or something else to sleeve up. So in that context, I get it. And that's why I kind of want to introduce going through colors, themes, and getting other people to sleeve up your decks to try them out and see if they enjoy it. So, so kind of starting off, Belle de Gore, our immortal trigger, able to be summoned from trash for the cost. He is replacing any of our units that are 4s or 5s. And then obviously he can pop a spirit on when summoned for cost 4 or fewer, which is really nice. Helps you kind of establish the board if he comes out. Especially if they swung, you blocked, you bring him out instead. Nice way of doing it. He's triggering off of pretty much everything from here, Darklance, all the way up over to Blackblade. Moving on to the next one, starting to get into our red, is Emperor Beast, Shadow type, Crimson Knight. He's got Curse and Confront at level 2. He is your opener. If there's 2 things you leave the house with, it's your watch, your wallet, and 3 copies of Crimson Knight. Very easily the best thing to open up any deck. If it's got armor, Confront takes care of that. If it's really big and you still want to sack it anyways, it's got Curse, it's going to bring the thing down. So, really good card in that respect. Next up, it's your drawing. One of your drawing engines to kind of get a foot in the door is Dragon Naga Assassin. If we're not familiar with where to get this guy, He is in the starter deck, so if you are over on BSSDB, you're able to look at the cards. It says here ST represented by starter deck. So he's starter purple, and in the purple starter, I believe you get 3 copies of him, and all Jacob is running here is just 3 copies. Curse, and then 3 cores on, including the soul core. As long as he has that, he can draw every time he swings. Again, if your deck's not moving and if you're not drawing and you're getting stalled out a little bit, Dragonaga, because he has curse and he's able to get you draw, is a big threat for a low cost body, and he's putting 3 copies of that in here. Next up, we have Darklance Cavalier. When summoned, pretty straightforward. Draw a card, just helps rotate your deck a little bit. We're gonna move on. This guy I wasn't sure of, but I mean, it works. Earth Spider Demon. If this spirit has the soul core on it, when it attacks like one of your opponent's spirits, remove a core from it, place it into their reserve. If something's really big and they're 1 core shy of being able to punch through, or if they're 1 core shy from dying because they went thin, it's just a good way of playing around purple's other trick, which is core removal or core allocation and moving stuff around on the player. He's rocking 2 copies of that. These next 2 cards at the present moment in time are still difficult to get a hold of. So if you don't have any copies of Venom Raptor, and if you don't have copies of Black Blade, which we're going to review here in a second on these 2, you can minus those and then like throw in maybe another Dragonaga, maybe another Cavalier, maybe another Crimson Knight, another Beldegor. Essentially, if you take out those 2, you want to add to the bottom half of the deck. You don't want to add to the top end in this. So just keep that in mind. Venom Raptor, when I talked to Jacob about it, and I didn't see it in play because it's only a 1-of in here. It's just for like different cheeky tech. During your attack step, when this spirit or one of your red or purple spirits with a soul core on it attacks, you may select one of your opponent's spirits that costs 7 or fewer. The selected spirit cannot block during this battle. This effect does not duplicate. So pretty easy, opens them up a little bit. You're able to punch through. Black Blade is really interesting. When summoned, the next time you destroy one of your opponent's spirits this turn, draw 2 cards. And he also has Confront at level 2. Kind of like what we were talking about before, is if you're able to sack your opponent's spirit, usually you get rewarded for it, or if one of your own spirits gets sacked, you get rewarded for it, as you'll see as we get into the setup. But Black Blade, just being able to put that rule on the board as soon as he comes down and says, hey, you let one of your spirits die over there, I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 cards because of it. That's pretty cool. Next up, Black Lance. Black Lance is not from a prior box set. He's a promotional card that came out in a prior give out booster from like, I think it was like store tournaments or something like that. But he's got a holo and a non-holo variant. So if somebody is looking for a certain version of it, you got your pick between the 2. But he's also just to help you withdraw, and he's a low-end curse. So if you have good purple established, you can summon him for 2. He's a 6 cost 4 reduction. And when he's summoned, draw 2 cards as long as you're able to slap 3 cores on him for his level 2. And he's got curse. Dinosaur Knight Dentist. Immortal cost 3 or 7. So kind of like Beldegor, how he's taking care of 4s and 5s. Dentist here is proccing off of Beldegor, so you can get like a nice little immortal loop going. Beldegor gets sacked. You then just pop out Dentist if you have good reduction. And then from there, he's also taking care of your 7s, which you have here and here, represented by Nemesis and Brutal Dino is all we're going to say right now. And then he also has a really cheeky thing. When destroyed, select one of your Terrazor or Shadow Spirits. It gains Confront and 5,000 BP for this turn. Chain Purple, discard the top 2 cards of your deck to draw a card. If you're noticing, like I was saying before, Self-mill helps you usually get a draw. Putting Immortals in the trash is usually a good way to start. Get that Immortal loop going. But another Immortal there kind of closing off into a nice little loop. And again, I don't know if you noticed, but he's a 6 cost 4 reduction, 2 red, 2 purple. He costs 2, Beldegor also costs 2, so if you're in a good board state, that's why Dentist here is only 2 as opposed to 3 copies, because you don't want to be too heavy on the top end with him until you get a good setup going. And no cores 2 to actually bring him out if needed. Brutal Dino, Tyrantosaurus. This guy's really interesting. If he's in your trash at the start of the step, of the attack step, you may summon the spirit from trash. If you do, select one of your spirits and destroy it. Pretty straightforward. If you're able to Immortal loop, sack something that's already out, bring this bigger dude out instead, put some cores on him, and then he just starts going to Pound Town for you. When this spirit is blocked, place a core from your opponent's life into their reserve if this spirit has higher PP than your blocking spirit, than their blocking spirit. While this spirit attacks, when the battle ends once per turn, refresh this spirit. This guy will either get a burn, or he's going to punch through and actually just stand back up again, which is really gross. But I think that's super cool. So that's some interesting tech with the red-purple introduction that came out this box set. And of course, a good staple, Nemesis. Nemesis is always good for like clearing the board, drawing, or reallocating cores if they're going wide. When this spirit attacks, select one of your spirits. You may destroy it to activate one of the following effects. Either select one of your opponent's spirits, place up to 2 cores from it into their reserve, so remove 2 cores off an active spirit, or draw 2 cards. And then when destroyed, your opponent selects one of their spirits and destroys it. Nemesis can kill himself, draw 2 cards, and then also you will punch through and have the opponent select one of their spirits to destroy. So Nemesis is very good in that situation to also roll your deck, get into more cards, see more of your deck, and then also just clear the way, which is pretty sick. So that's a spirit. So right there, that's our 25 spirits that we're rocking. Hopefully I explained it well enough. I know I went a little bit faster since this is usually, I'm talking from like a tone of an intermediate as opposed to explaining every little thing. And I know we ranted at the start, but flows really well. You got your low spirits, you're trying to keep your hand full, and then you have other things too to help get into your deck even more. One of the newer Nexuses we got this box set is Ferocious Prison. At first, I wasn't a fan of this card, but after getting schooled by it by like 3 different people, I'm starting to become a believer. When placed, discard a card. If you do, select 2 of your opponent's spirits with 2,000 or fewer BP and destroy them. Really good for dropping a Nexus and clearing a wide board. If you lose to the aggro play, or if you're struggling with the aggro situation, putting one of these down, sacking an Immortal to trash, clearing the way a little bit, and then setting up for future reduction. That's pretty slick. And then if it's got 3 cores on during your end step, if a spirit has been destroyed this turn, draw a card at the start of the step. That's disgusting. You're already going to have another Nexus that helps you draw, but the fact, if you have the cores allocated on here, to be able to do that again because something died. Notice how it doesn't care if your opponent's spirits die or if your spirits die. Just as long as something died, you're able to draw a card. So really, really gross. Staple, I feel like at this point for purple build is Rotting Swamp. Draw a card when one of your spirits is destroyed during your attack step. That is usually the reason you're using Rotting Swamp. You're not typically using it for the level 2 tag. Once per turn, when one of your Serpent Spirits would be destroyed, you may discard a card to return it to your hand instead. Sure, I guess, if you want to do that for like Black Lance to get him to hand to do another Wind Summon trick, sure. Or Dragonaga because you're just suffering, great. But keep in mind, it still requires 3 cores on. 3 cores on are probably going to be better allocated to Ferocious Prison if you already have that in play. Rotting Swamp is only a purple reduction. Meanwhile, Ferocious Prison is either a red or a purple, so it kind of helps you dive into the other things that you're going to have at your disposal here. Another staple card for Magics, so those were the 8 Nexuses. Ferocious Prison, Rotting Swamp. They're doing the task, they're clearing the board, they're helping us draw, moving right on to Magics. 4 copies of Deadly Balance. Your opponent selects one of their spirits, then you select one of yours, destroy both spirits. You can do this on an empty board. I feel like a lot of people forget about it, especially if you're new to purple. I know I learned it, unfortunately, at an actual tournament situation. Somebody taught it to me. Had no idea it was a thing until that happened. But yeah, if your board's empty, you just play this for 1 if you have the reduction set up. Otherwise, it's 3. And then you just have them sack a spirit. Pretty sick. Absolute Ice Shield, a staple, I feel like, in the current meta of things, just from a defense standpoint. If you can't get off the ground or if you're just struggling to claw back, Absolute Ice Shield will keep you in it. Burst, you take a core from your reserve, put it into your life when your life is lost. So essentially you can stall out your life and keep it where it's at. Flash, if you have the cores to pay for it, you can just end the attack step. Keep in mind, in Battle Spirits, we go from that attack step into the end step, and then it's over. And then it's the opponent's turn. So we're just calling shots and saying, hey, you can't swing at me 5 times. I'm going to tell you no more. And then I'm going to pass turn, and now it's my turn. So good burst card. Next up, Core Theft. Core Theft is really cheeky. 4 costs, can go all the way down to a 1 cost on full reduction. Select one of your opponent's spirits, then discard any number of cards and place one core from that spirit into their trash for each card you discarded. Keep in mind too, cores going to the reserve are still in play. They can still be used by the opponent. You send cores to the trash, those can't be used. So core theft's really good for making somebody feel like they're safe, or even snaking a spirit all the way down to a certain level that you can deal with it. So yeah, you might not have to ditch your whole hand, but you can absolutely try to get the cores out of play to kind of snuff the opponent out. Since we're using red, why not Burning Force, said Jacob. Get a little bit more control going by burning a Nexus, or again, if they're aggro, you can you can cast this and knock out 2 spirits of 3000 BP or less. Pretty straightforward, good removal for both Nexus and low-hanging spirits. Doubly Deadly, the card that everybody's saying needs a ban. Whatever, guys. Destroy one of your spirits to make your opponents like 2 of their 1 symbol and destroy them. Good for board clear. Deadly Balance will get you 1. Doubly Deadly will get you 2. You just actually have to sack your own spirit with this one. So you do need a tribute in order to reach up to 2 and grab them and kill them too. And then the last utility in the set for this deck is going to be Hellcrack. Red and purple reduction. When you lose life from your burst, you can activate this. Select 2 of your opponent's spirits, remove 1 core from it, and place it into your opponent's reserves. You may then pay this card's cost to activate its effect, which is, guess what? Another Nexus burn. So you can just kill another Nexus. Now, the Hellcrack's pretty cool because you can size down a spirit if they think they're safe. Maybe they had something that procs after battle. If you can remove the core before that's officially done and they lose whatever that ability is, even better. So now you set up more control on your turn when you go to swing back at them. And then you can also burn their Nexus, because why not? So Hellcrack's a very good card that came out of this box set. So that's the main established board, kind of like what we talked about. It's 50 cards in total, mainly spirits, a little bit of Nexus there. Purple doesn't need a whole lot. And then good magics, which is purple's big thing, is just removing your opponent's spirits so they just can't play anything else. Good times, good times. Now for the sideboard, quick review. This is one of the new cards, Bard Orphe. Orphe? We'll say Orphe. When this card is discarded from your hand, you may pay its cost to summon it. Jacob was doing some cheeky stuff where he would pay for core theft, ditch this card, it was discarded, summon it, he now gets another spirit I didn't expect to have there, and now I have to deal with something else. So, interesting card. It's a one of. It is part of the new promo set, so again, this card not super available right now, and so that's why I'm not really talking about it. He moved it to main in his revision, and I still think it's a sideboard card, but whatever have you. Another copy of Black Lance if you're feeling like you need the draw or playing more into Serpents. Curse Combo. Dark Bishop Bacillus, also from the... so he's from BSS 01, as is the other part of the Curse Combo I'm getting to. Infernal King Curse Dragon. If your opponent is going wide and turtling up, they're not really letting you get through, you drop Dark Bishop, remove all but 1 core from all spirits, and place it into their owner's reserves. That's including your own spirits. And then Curse Dragon, which you would drop right after, remove 1 core each from all of their spirits and place them into their owner's reserves. Then place a core from the void onto this spirit for each spirit destroyed by that effect. You set the board up with Bacillus, gets past armor, and then you finish it off by dropping Curse Dragon, and then you're ramping cores and clearing the board. So, pretty nice. Purple's big thing is obviously not having an issue with draw, but having some issues at times with not being able to have good core management, because some things are going to want to be level 2, some things are going to be wanting level 1 will be fine for some of these things, but you know, more cores is always the better, so you can get the most out of your turn. And then also when the spirit attacks, select one of your opponent's spirits, remove all but 1 core from it, and place it into their reserve. So if you were in a situation where you moved Curse Dragon to main, you could then start snaking stuff off with a combo on Earth Spider and then the Curse Dragon, because you would swing with him, get everything down to 1 core, swipe the last core with Earth Spider Demon, just to kind of give you an idea of some things to look out for. Ritual Fire for the low end, the burning of 4,000 BP or less for 2 of your opponent's spirits. practically just a different variant of Burning Force minus the Nexus burn. And then also you could boost up your own spirits based on typing as opposed to anything else. Another Burning Force down here, just one, and another Hellcrag. So again, if you're wanting decks to sleeve up, I hope you enjoy this video series. We're going to go probably a little bit faster. I won't give the long spiel in the next one. If you're wanting to watch some more Battle Spirit Saga content, highly recommend you guys check out the live stream on the Battle Core channel tomorrow. It is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the tournament officially starts. I will have a link for that down in the comments down below. I will pin it as the first comment so you guys can check it out. And again, that live stream is going to be Saturday. Zig, why are you talking about a live stream? That's not like your channel. Correct. It's not on my channel. It is on the one I'm going to link. And I will be one of the hosts that will actually talk over the tournament as we kind of spectate and watch together. So I hope you guys like this deck. You guys can go check out the main deck master channel as well. It'll be under the video description where it's been in practically most of the videos at this point. They are doing Battle Spirit Saga content as well as other things now, so definitely check them out. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.